New Deep Dive.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into really one of the most talked about events right now in American politics. The sudden emergence of Elon Musk's America Party.
Yeah, it's quite something.
You've almost certainly heard the name Elon Musk, the billionaire, buying Tesla, SpaceX. But why is this tech titan, someone who just recently backed Donald Trump, now launching his very own political movement? That's really our mission today, to unpack this whole story of ambition, conflict, and, well, a pretty bold attempt to revolutionize U.S. politics.
It's fascinating how quickly it all unfolded, isn't it? I mean, we went from this really powerful alliance to a dramatic split, and then boom, a brand new political entity almost overnight.
Exactly.
So we'll trace this journey, look at the context, the reactions, and crucially, the huge challenges this new party is up against. Get ready for some surprising facts and key insights, I think.
Okay, let's get into it. To understand this dramatic turn, we really need to look at Musk's shifting politics. He's always been involved, right? Even back in the 2000s, funding both Democrats and Republicans, especially where his companies were based, like California and Texas.
Right. But things started to shift more clearly towards the right around 2022.
Yeah.
And by 2024, he wasn't just leaning right, he was a critical supporter for Donald Trump. Actually became the largest individual donor.
How much are we talking?
Over $280 million to Trump's campaign directly. Plus, he set up that super PAC, America PAC.
Ah, yes, America PAC.
Which spent another, what was it, $239 million promoting Trump and other Republicans. So massive financial backing.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Musk doesn't just fund, he gets involved inside the administration.
Yeah.
January 2025, he co-creates the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
DOGE, right. The goal sounded straightforward enough. Cut federal spending / bureaucracy?
Sounds like something he'd push for. But the sources suggest his time there was, well, rocky.
Oh, definitely turbulent. You know, his management style, famously uncompromising in his companies, it just didn't mesh well inside the White House.
How so?
Well, he quickly alienated key people like Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, and his actions, things like mass layoffs in federal agencies, trying to liquidate U.S. aid entirely.
Whoa, liquidate USA?
Yeah, that met huge resistance, not just from Democrats, but from some Republicans, too. It led to public protests. You remember the "no one voted for Elon Musk" signs?
I do.
And politically, it hurt him. That Quinnipiac poll in June 2025 showed his popularity with independent voters just tanked, down to 29%.
29%, wow. Okay, so DOGE is struggling, he's losing public support, but the real breaking point seems to be this piece of legislation, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Exactly, which raises the key question, what was in this bill that caused such a massive flowout?
So what was it?
Well, Trump signed it on July 4th, 2025, and it was huge, an expansive budget law mixing tax cuts, domestic policy changes, and more defense spending.
And Musk
Hated it vehemently. Called it a disgusting abomination, pork-filled. His main argument was the deficit he claimed it added $3.8 trillion over 10 years.
which flew right in the face of his whole DOGE mission, presumably?
Precisely. Directly contradicted the fiscal savings idea. And, significantly, buried in the bill were provisions limiting subsidies for electric vehicles.
Ah, hitting Tesla directly.
You got it. Which led Trump to claim Musk's opposition wasn't about principle, but purely personal because his companies had received, quote, billions of dollars in subsidies before.
Okay, so it gets personal and public. Musk goes on X, this is June 2025, suggests Trump should be removed from office.
He did, even threw in that insinuation about Jeffrey Epstein, though he walked that back a bit later.
Still, a huge escalation.
Yeah.
And Trump's response.
Fire back hard, threatened to cut government contracts for SpaceX and Tesla. And that really seemed to be the final nail in the coffin for the alliance. Irreversible break.
So with that intense backdrop, this public feud raging, Musk makes his move. Independence Day, July 4th, 2025. He launches an X poll.
Yep. Simple question to his 220 million followers. Is it time to create a new political party in America that represents the 80% of people in the middle?
And the results came back fast.
Very fast. Announced the next day, July 5th. Pretty compelling. 65% of the 1.2 million who responded said yes.
Musk's reaction.
Immediate. The people have spoken. A new political party is needed. It is destiny. Just like that.
It is destiny. Wow. And that same day, he officially declares it the America Party.
That's right. Put out a statement saying something like, when it comes to bankrupting our country, We live in a one-party system. Today, the America Party rises to give you back your freedom.
Strong words.
Very. And notice the name, America Party, harkens right back to that 2024 Super Pateri.
Good point. Suggests he might use the existing structures.
It strongly suggests that, yeah. Leveraging the financial and maybe organizational setup, he's already laid out the immediate goal, target a few seats in the 2026 midterms. He mentioned 2-3 seats in the Senate and 8-10 in the House. The idea seems to be to become a kind of deciding voice on key issues, especially the budget and reforms. A swing bloc.
Okay, so what are the core ideas? What's this party actually stand for, based on what he said?
Well, there isn't a super detailed platform out yet, naturally, but his posts on X give us a pretty good idea. The focus seems to be on common sense, not consultants.
Okay, like what specifically?
Key priorities seem to be definitely reducing public debt. He's been hammering that, especially after Trump's big bill, which added, estimates range from $3.3 to $5 trillion to the debt.
Right.
As deregulation and free speech, he calls himself a free speech absolutist, so expect a focus on fighting perceived censorship and cutting red tape.
Makes sense, given his ex-ownership.
Also, big support for technology, promoting things like AI, robotics, especially for modernizing the military. And then there's the pro-natalist policy incentives for families, boosting birth rates. That reflects his own views and, well, his own large family.
Interesting mix.
Yeah.
And the overall approach?
Aiming squarely at the center. Trying to represent that 80% of Americans in the middle, basically, independent voters who are fed up with the polarization of the two main parties.
And he stressed it wouldn't just align with Democrats or Republicans, an independent force.
That's the pitch. Negotiating with both, acting as its own entity. It's ambitious, to say the least, especially in the U.S. system.
Definitely ambitious. So how did this big announcement actually land? What was the reaction from the public, from the political world? On X, I imagine it was noisy?
Oh, yeah. A real mix.
Yeah.
You had some users, like one at Christoph Poland, praising it as an attempt to create a party of common sense and competence, maybe break the duopoly.
Okay, some enthusiasm.
Sure. But others, like at Android Polska, were more cautious. Saw the potential to tackle debt, but wondered if it was a real plan or, quote, just utopia.
And skepticism, too.
Definitely. Someone else at Merzenfrog XXX compared it to the Libertarian Party, suggesting it might struggle for mass appeal, maybe too niche ideologically.
But here's an interesting bit of data. The Quantus Insights poll from around the same time, late June or early July 2025, it showed 40% of registered voters would consider supporting Musk's party.
40% is significant.
And maybe even more telling, 59% of independent voters felt the current parties don't represent American values. That seems to suggest a real potential base, doesn't it? Despite the online noise.
It certainly hints at an opportunity, absolutely, especially tapping into that disillusionment with the Democrats and Republicans. But as you probably guessed, the reaction from the political establishment itself was less than welcoming.
Mostly negative.
Overwhelmingly negative. Donald Trump, for example, called the whole idea absurd, total chaos, said Musk was derailed, a disaster.
Wow, strong language.
And he didn't stop there, threatened serious consequences on Truth Social if Musk dared to fund Democrats or independents running against Republicans. Then in that Fox News interview, he told Musk to go back to South Africa.
Oof, the true accusations of xenophobia.
Yeah. It did. And others in the administration piled on. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, went on CNN and basically said Musk should stick to business, not politics.
Did he give a reason?
He acknowledged the ideas behind DOGE had some popularity, but pointed out Musk was losing public support, which could really undermine this new party venture.
And Steve Bannon, I saw he weighed in too.
Oh yeah, the former Trump strategist. He went even further. Called Musk un-American, threatened deportation.
Musk's response.
Classic Musk response on X, told Bannon he'd go back to jail. Just poured fuel on the fire.
So Republicans are clearly hostile. What about Democrats?
Well, despite their own frequent criticisms of Musk, some Democrats probably see a potential silver lining here.
Oh, so.
His party could potentially split the Republican vote, weakening them, but it's not universal praise. You had someone like Senator Bernie Sanders warning about it, representing a rise of oligarchy, a threat to democracy itself.
Right. It brings the fundamental question, doesn't it? Historically, how do third parties actually do in the U.S.? What does the track record tell us about the American Party's real chances?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? And political experts like Hans Knoll at Georgetown, they consistently point out the huge structural barriers. The American winner-takes-all electoral system is just incredibly hostile to third parties.
We've seen examples before.
Absolutely. Think back to Ross Perot in '92. Got nearly 19% of the popular vote, a huge chunk, but 0 electoral votes. That really underscores the difficulty.
So all the online buzz, the X followers,
Huh.
it might not translate.
It's a major challenge. Musk's digital reach is immense, obviously, but building a party in the U.S. that requires hyperlocal, boots-on-the-ground organizing state by state, it's a fundamental clash, really. His top-down tech empire model versus the bottom-up social movement reality of party building. And historically, the latter usually wins out in American politics.
Even the international media had thoughts.
They did. A German paper, Rhein-Neckar-Zeitung, called it a provocation, basically an expression of Musk's megalomania, doubted its chances.
And in Poland.
Dr. Winthold Sukaas saw it as a potential blow to Trump, maybe pulling some votes, but he also noted its probably limited impact on U.S. foreign policy, given Musk's own business interests in places like China and alleged ties to Russia.
Okay, so summing that up, what does this really mean for the America Party's chances? You hear the Herculean task. Is it that even for someone like Musk with seemingly endless resources?
It really is. Connect this to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
The legal and organizational hurdles are just immense. Forget the money for a second. Each state has its own incredibly complex rules for getting a party on the ballot, getting candidates registered. It often involves collecting thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of signatures. It's costly, it's time-consuming.
So the timeline is tight for 2026.
Extremely tight. Electoral lawyers like Brett Capel suggest building a national party infrastructure could realistically take years, making it fully operational before the 2026 midterms. Highly unlikely.
And that's just the paperwork. What about the people, the structure?
Exactly. Beyond the legal stuff, you need an actual organization, local chapters, volunteers, finding credible candidates willing to run under this new banner. A politologist, Bernard Thomas, put it well. A party isn't a business, it's a social movement.
It requires grassroots engagement.
Deep grassroots engagement.
Yeah.
And Musk, he's known for his micromanagement style. Delegating that kind of essential on-the-ground work might be a real challenge for him.
Then there's the money. We mentioned the super PAC, but what about funding the party itself?
That's another key distinction. He can pour unlimited personal funds into America PAC, the super PAC, for things like ads supporting or opposing candidates. But direct donations to a political party are capped by federal law.
How much?
Less than $1 million per election cycle from an individual. So while he can spend massively around the party, funding the party's core operations will require finding many other significant donors beyond just himself.
Okay, legal hurdles, organizational challenges, funding limits. What about Musk himself? His image?
That's a huge factor, too. While he has this incredibly devoted fan base, let's be honest, he's also a deeply polarizing figure, isn't he?
Definitely.
His controversial statements, sometimes promoting conspiracy theories, his vocal support for certain right-wing movements over in Europe, like AfD in Germany or Vox in Spain, even the ongoing accusations about censorship on X. All of that really complicates his pitch as a leader for a centrist party aiming for that broad 80% in the middle.
It undermines the credibility somewhat.
It certainly could for many voters. And remember that poll we mentioned earlier. Nate Silver's analysis back in June 2025 indicated Musk lost popularity among independent voters after leaving the Trump administration. If that trend holds, attracting the very electorate he's targeting could be quite difficult.
And finally, you just can't ignore the big two.
You absolutely cannot. The sheer weight of the established duopoly Democrats and Republicans. They have centuries of history, deep-seated structures, loyal voter bases, massive media access. It's an incredibly entrenched system.
Past attempts show how hard it is to break through.
Exactly. Ross Perot's Reform Party, Ralph Nader, and the Green Party. They achieved significant poll support at times, generated buzz, but ultimately couldn't translate that into lasting electoral success or disrupt the fundamental two-party dynamic.
So, to really succeed, it's not just about convincing individual voters.
No, he'd need to build a genuine coalition, something capable of actually breaking through the intense polarization that really defines American politics today. And that is a truly formidable task.
Okay, formidable task indeed. Let's look ahead then. What are the potential implications here? Short term, long term. Even if the America Party doesn't win many seats, could it still shake things up significantly?
Oh, absolutely. Even without winning big, it could have major ripple effects. Politico, for instance, suggested Musk's party could primarily hurt Republicans by splitting their vote.
Opening the door for Democrats.
Potentially, yeah. Maybe giving Democrats a better shot at regaining the House majority in 2026. But conversely, Musk himself has said he plans to back primary challengers against Republicans who supported that big budget bill he hated.
So putting pressure on Trump's party from within, almost.
Exactly. It could force the Republican Party to adjust its course, particularly on fiscal issues, to fend off these challenges. So disruption either way.
And the ripples go beyond politics,
Yeah.
right? Into the business world.
For sure. Financial markets are already reacting. Tesla's stock, for example, dipped about 2% the morning after the party announcement, July 7th. That signals investor nervousness about his political activities maybe distracting him.
Are analysts worried?
Some are. Analysts like James Fishback have warned that Tesla's board might start putting pressure on Musk to, focus more on the company, less on trying to build a political party. It's a real balancing act.
So that's the short term. What about the longer view? Could this become something more lasting?
It's possible. If we look down the road, the America Party could evolve into a platform for a broader new political movement, especially if he manages to attract other notable figures disillusioned with the current system.
Anyone specific?
Well, Andrew Yang, who founded the Forward Party, has already expressed interest in collaborating. He seems to see Musk as a potential ally in trying to modernize the U.S. political system, maybe pushing for things like electoral reform.
But, as you said, a detailed platform is still missing. How critical is that? Can it survive just on Musk's personality and tweets?
That's probably the core challenge for long-term viability. Crafting a coherent, detailed program that genuinely resonates with a wide range of voters, not just his dedicated followers on X, that seems absolutely crucial.
It needs more substance.
Yes. Some experts, like David Townley at the University of Portsmouth, believe the party might end up functioning more as a kind of rhetorical tool for Musk, a way to promote his specific techno-libertarian vision, rather than becoming a real functioning political force with broad appeal.
But there is an opening, isn't there, given the current climate?
There definitely is. In this era of intense polarization and, frankly, widespread dissatisfaction with both major parties, the America Party certainly has an opportunity. It could tap into that deep vein of voter frustration, especially among younger voters and independents looking for an alternative. The potential is there.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's really clear, isn't it? The emergence of the America Party is this potent mix of ambition, very personal conflict, and just a really audacious attempt to disrupt the political status quo.
Absolutely. Elon Musk, a figure who has undeniably revolutionized entire industries, EVs, space travel, now setting his sights on revolutionizing American politics itself.
Will he succeed? History, as we've discussed, throws up some pretty daunting statistics about third parties in the U.S.
Yeah.
That uphill climb looks incredibly steep.
It does, but then again, Musk isn't your typical political player, is he? His vast personal resources, the unparalleled reach of X, that fiercely loyal fan base, it gives him a unique starting position, even with all those massive legal, political, and frankly, reputational barriers we talked about.
So today, we've really traced that whole arc from Musk's alliance with Trump through that very public, very dramatic fallout right up to the announcement of the America Party. We've looked at the initial reactions, the huge challenges ahead, and the potential ripple effects.
One thing feels certain, though. Regardless of whether the America Party wins seats or eventually fades away, Musk has already shaken things up. He's forced both Republicans and Democrats to react, to take notice.
He's injected himself right into the center of the conversation.
He has. Which leads to, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to ponder. In a political system that seems so deeply entrenched, so resistant to change, could the biggest disruption actually come not from within the existing structures, but from someone like Musk, who has consistently operated outside traditional boundaries? Or, at the end of the day, is the sheer weight of history, the power of the duopoly, simply too great for any single individual, no matter how wealthy or influential, to truly overcome?
That's definitely something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. If you found this interesting, we hope you'll share it with your friends. And please join us again for our next deep dive into another key event shaping our world. Until next time.
Subscribe to New Deep Dive.